On today's show, we have two guests now, and they are going to speak about their path to enlightenment, their own wisdom, and how they got to be here as such men. And they're going to speak on a couple of topics that we have prepared. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And so, first, you guys introduce yourselves. Who are you?
Hello, viewers. My name is David Mowa. I'm 18 years old. I've been doing this kind of research and study for the past 3 years on occult wisdom, occult philosophy, and ancient religions and politics. I have encountered many artifacts, documents that reveal a lot of truth on this world that people simply just don't know. And during this program, I am trying to reveal that truth so people can, for once in their life, see the world for what it really is. Thank you.
And hi, my name is Emmanuel, and I've been in this type of field of expertise for about 3 years myself. And I started back when I was in high school, and I started from a few of my friends and David himself, and a few of my inspirational people were um, um, Jordan Maxwell, Martin Luther King, and some of my high school teachers. And this is our hobby, it's our interest, this is what makes us. And while the rest of you guys are out there watching meaningless TV shows, going on Twitter, doing your Instagram or whatever it's called nowadays, we're out here just studying and reading books.
How did you guys start enlightenment?
Um, I've just been privy to, been raised in the background with my older brother, of course, being 5, 6 years older than me, and just being raised around that environment, right? Um, every night I would hear my brother listen to scholars and lecturers such as Jordan Maxwell, David Icke, way back as 1999, and I was only about 6 years old, 5 years old at that time. So I've been hearing this kind of otherworldly knowledge and things that people just don't know. And I've been encountered with my fellow friend here, Emmanuel, for the past 10 years of my life. And we haven't really been speaking about this kind of knowledge, but we just came together just recently and we've been speaking about the things that I've gotten to find out and what he has gotten to find out, and we have um, brought it in front of you today to see exactly how much we can help our human family.
Um, yeah, your question is very interesting. It's a good question, but I was I my enlightenment started since the day I was born. People ask me, "How do you know so much? How are you so smart?" And I just put that down to the innate thirst for information, thirst for knowledge, and just always questioning things and not accepting the status quo and wanting to know more. And my beginning just started with watching videos and just questioning things. Just I knew I had a feeling things aren't supposed to be the way they are, and just like something is wrong. It's like a needle in the back of your head. You feel something is there, but you just don't know how to take it out. You don't know what it is. You just want to take it out and just want to break free from the mass media and the populace that the masses have. It's just
That's exactly correct.
pure foolishness.
Alright, so what are your views on the whole education system as a whole? What it's producing within the students nowadays, and the wisdom they're giving the students if they are giving them any wisdom?
That's a very that's a very put together question. Um, well, me myself, I'm still a student, right? So I'm still going through that process. But in my personal opinion, right, on what I see today, right, is I see a lot of children just seeing no need in going to class, seeing no need in studying or in learning. And it's not because they don't want to learn, right? I believe that it's because there is no actual fascinating thing to discover from the education system anymore. It's not there. There's no desire. As the Bible said, Jesus told his people that my people are suffering because the lack of desire to find wisdom and knowledge and understanding. But today, in this time, students are not given the actual wisdom and knowledge that's really fascinating, but it's really out there. Because if you were to go back 10, 15 years ago, you would see the success rate much higher. You will see the dropout rate much lower. And that's simply because what we're being taught in school today is not a desire for us as students or as a human being anymore. We are finding different ways and different openings to different attributes of knowledge that has been hidden for thousands of years, such as sources that we use today in internet and in television. A lot of people say that internet and television is spoiling the human race. In fact, it is, but it's spoiling the human race because we're using it the wrong way. I personally believe that the television and the internet is a very powerful resource to become enlightened and gain a lot of wisdom. Because the way that the scholars and the philosophers were being enlightened and gaining wisdom in their time was very difficult. You would have to read enormous amounts of books. You would have to pick up scribes. You would have to pick up artifacts, documents, go to different sites, different museums. It would be very hands-on, right? But now you get basically everything from the click of a button. But as my fellow friend here said, we spoil our minds with what the masters have given us through social media such as Twitter, Facebook. We can't physically speak with one another anymore, and that's the problem. We have to have it virtually over a database, and we change our languages to fit those databases. So I see the education system as a very bankrupt system that simply takes out the whole concept of children learning for themselves. It's unifying the human.
Exactly.
It's unifying them. It's making them all as one. Because I believe that a human is not a politically correct creature. We are all different. We all have our own desires, our own will to do whatever we wish to do, not fulfill the requirements of our masters based on the books or the education they give us. It's sad when history classes only teach 100, 200 years back, when if you really go 500, 600, 7,000 years back, you will start to see some extremely fascinating things of where our civilization and systems really come from and what they really mean. So I think that we as a human race really need to look into the education system and where it's really taking the next generation of human beings, right? Because for me personally, I never ever enjoyed the education system and what it offered for me as a particular individual, because it made my mind completely bankrupt, right? I had no desire there whatsoever. In fact, while I was in class, this is a personal testimony I'm about to give to you guys. When I was in class for many years in high school and in middle school, I was in fact listening on my iPod and on my portable MP3, lectures from other teachers that interested me in the subjects that they were speaking about. So while the teacher or the principal or whoever was teaching me in the class or was speaking to us in assemblies, right, I was always in my own little world, if you were to say, right? But believe me, it wasn't fun, right? Because no child or no human being wants to be left out, right? Misery loves company. That's the philosophy. If you're like them, they will love you for it. But if you're not like them, they will hate you. And in fact, they'll be like, why is this guy different from me? And that's when you start to run into problems, right? Winston Churchill said a quote that the majority of people stumble on truth and get up and brush their shoulders like nothing happened. Well, I'm telling you that even though we as human beings, we all go through the education system, we are all faced and we're all going to encounter the truth sooner or later. But accepting it is your choice. Right? Accepting it is your choice. But believe me, learning from me hands-on right now, accepting it and going on the path is a very vicious path. It takes a warrior to continue that path and to continue to move forward and simply tell yourself and accept to yourself that you do not know. Right? Because in the Bible it says, Jesus said that a man must be humble and must go through humility before one reaches glory. Meaning that you have to let go of the pride, right? Because in the majority of the kings, going back thousands of years ago, they brought up the concept of the 7 deadly sins, right? And the highest sin in the 7 deadly sins written by the kings of Europe was pride. And that is a very legitimate sin that is in all of us. Pride leads to a lot of arrogance, right? It leads to a lot of ignorance and just not telling yourself that I don't know, right? Because no matter if you're a teacher or if you're a scholar or if you are a prophet, you are going to need somebody to look up to and you're going to need somebody to teach you. And I always tell people, when you are going down this path or you're going down any path and you are listening to people, always take portions of what they're saying and never take everything that they're saying. Meaning, even me speaking right now, do not take 100% of what I'm saying is true or fact or lie or whatever it is. Take a portion of what I'm saying and actually do research on it, because you can't handle all of it at one point, right? There's a saying in the Bible that do not fill your plate full if you cannot handle it, right? So take little by little, be patient. Take away the pride, right? Because the pride leads to a lot of arrogance and ignorance. So the education system is something that it unifies everybody, right? And it basically tells everybody that you all could be smart and you all could be intelligent, right? But I believe that intelligence and wisdom and enlightenment comes from oneself. It comes from a journey that one must take on its own, not by being in a classroom taught by one person. Because you being taught by that teacher, you are living under that person's perspective, behind that person's eye. But I always told myself, I want to teach myself, right? I always had that mind of being a revolutionary. So I always came to class knowing that what I want to know, I will teach myself. And I always try to ask questions, but I never got the answers. So I always took the self evaluation to question myself and also answer myself. And that's a very hard process that many people cannot do. People love to question, but they can't answer. And with this kind of subject, you're gonna go through a lot of questioning and answering by yourself, and that's something that you're gonna have to sacrifice, because sacrifice is the credibility of wisdom and knowledge.
Okay, so the education system in itself is not for everybody. Education, intelligence, and wisdom was not meant for everybody. That's as absurd as saying everyone should be at a mechanic shop changing brakes. This kind of wisdom was just not meant for some kind of people. They just did not have the genetic output, and they were not raised in the proper environment to handle this wisdom, and they just don't have the proper neurotransmitters firing in their brain and whatnot, and we do understand that. But the first education systems, the first credible one, started in Greek and Rome with the ancient Greeks, with Plato and Aristotle, where they had the Aristotelian schools, and their method of teaching was through questioning. They encouraged the students to question. Why? Because they wanted to know about the cosmos and about the earth and whatnot, and why things were a certain way. And back then, like Aristotle and all those people back then, they weren't just specializing in one field. They're professionals of many fields because they just were not restricted by their system. In our system, we are restricted. You can only be a lawyer or a teacher or a mechanic or an engineer, whatever, like once in your life. You can't have three or four different careers. Why? Because of the money, because of the time. The specializations is just too deep here. It makes you not have the time to, or like by the time you get to that point, you don't want to even read anymore. Most of college or university students who end up finishing never end up reading a book. So I think that is very indicative of our education system. It does not allow the freedom to their students, and freedom is a large part of the education system because without freedom, the student cannot learn, right? And learning takes place from oneself. One has to question. One has to have the desire or yearning from the inside as to why things are the way they are and why things are the way they should be. And like the education system, I will say it is very corrupt. And however, I am a student myself, and what I am going to tell you is you should know how to use the education system, but not let it use you. Because if it does use you, you are not going to end up being very successful or happy in your life. I know many people who have bachelor's and master's degrees and they work in retail and McDonald's and restaurants and those kind of things. These people are not dumb. It's because they are trapped by the system. The system, the system is way has way too many university graduates nowadays as opposed to back then, because people knew that university was not for everybody. Now, the word university itself, the word uni in Latin means one. That's why in schools they make you wear a uniform. They want to make everybody one. So this just is absolutely not fair, and they should let learning foster in the individual without the group, and group work should only be used to engage the students as opposed to coerce them in some sort of forced learning, which is just absolutely not the way learning should be. And like the reason why these university graduates cannot find jobs is because there are too many of them, and there are not enough jobs. The system does this on purpose because, and even if you cannot find a job with a bachelor's, they tell you to get a master's. Now, the master's traps you even more, and let me tell you why. Because if you have a bachelor's from a university and you're facing somebody who has a master's, these people will hire somebody who has a bachelor's as opposed to a master's degree because they have to pay the person who has the bachelor's degree less. The starting salary or compensation will be less because the master's students is more qualified. They don't care about competency or qualification. They care about how much money is going to go on their payroll. That's what they really care about, right? They don't really care about what school you went to. That's all nonsense. You think the employer really cares what school you went to after having an hour talk with you down in his room or office or whatever. It does not matter what school you went to, because what they teach you universally, it's all the same. They do not let you foster the learning that you want to foster. They teach you everything the same, and the history books, the word history itself means his story. History is just interpretation by one person or by many people. Like the Bible itself, how do we know that the things happen the way they're supposed to happen? Or is it merely someone's interpretation and someone's thinking, someone's ideas, someone's perspective, as opposed to the actual fact and the truth? So, what I'm gonna know is just what I want to tell you guys today is just to question things and to ask yourself, are things really supposed to be the way they're supposed to be? The education system, like I said, don't let it use you. You should use it. Specialize in a field that not everybody can do. Not something that is easy that everybody does because it's a quick 2 to 3 years college program. A college program that's quick, yes, but job opportunities, who knows? And even how many people are graduating. You should look at the ratio. You should do your own research because the longer the program or the harder the program, that means the less people. The whole point of the university system is they want to weed out the weak. And even in university, like the TAs and the professors, they don't even mark. I'm gonna share a little secret with you guys, which is something that I found out. So, personal story happened to my friend. He did a paper, and the TA gave him a B plus, and he went up to the TA and said, "Why is this paper only a B plus? I did all my research. I said it all my research. It's a very coherent paper. I think I did very well on it." And the TA said, "By the time I got to your paper, I already gave out enough A's, so I cannot give you an A." My friend was just like, "What?" And the TA explained to him that how they get this top-down rule where they can only give out so many A's, so many B's, so many C's, and so many D's. Why? Because a certain number of students have to fail, a certain number of students have to get C's, a certain number of students have to get B's, and a certain number of students have to get A's. And it goes from obviously D's and C's the highest and B's and A's the lowest because they want as much students to drop out and fail. So that means they have to take the class again, which gets more money. The whole education system, it's all business. They all want your money. They don't care about your education system, of your level of education, your intelligence. Everything that they teach you has been taught for the past hundreds of years. There's nothing new under the sun. It is all just a bureaucratic scheme to fool the masses, and they tell you on TV that to be but you can ask any 10-year-old in the country what they want to be, and the top five is probably like lawyer, teacher, doctor, engineer, scientist, and so on. You guys already know the professions that they want to be. They tell you this, and then so you can finish your schooling and then get married, get a job, and move to the suburbs and get 2.5 kids and just live the life from there until you're 65, if you even reach that age, and then your pension starts coming in. That's what they call a good life.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really a good life? Is that a life worth lived? What did you really do? Like Socrates says himself, an unexamined life is not worth living. So these people that do follow this scheme that they see on TV or the media or things that generations past have done, these are procedures that they took in order to satisfy people as opposed to satisfy themselves. What we are doing right now, what David and I are doing right now, this is not in the script for them. They did not write this for us. Right now, we should be, according to the people who run the world, we should be, what do people do nowadays? On Twitter for hours, posting useless Instagram pictures of, I don't even know what they post nowadays, and Facebook commenting on pictures and liking pictures. And let me just tell you, Facebook friends are not real. They're fake people you don't even see. That's people you haven't even met. And like apparently, like people who have the most friends are the most popular, are the cooler people. But I don't even know what's going on these days. And yeah, education's a very interesting topic, and I could just like tell me which other aspect you want me to go into.
Can, um, can I intrigue into that point quickly? Basically, you have to go back really, right, and just understand exactly where the education system has come from, right, and that's the philosophy of our show today. Just basically, where have things come from, right, and history. If you read a book, right, and do something creative, right, you will read and realize that the education system, it came and it manifested from the Renaissance period, because there was a time in the beginning of the Roman Empire in the first, second century AD, right, where the people of the world, even before the Roman Empire in the ancient Egypt, the people of the world were forbidden and could not even read or write. They were only able to work, and their masters owned the land and them, right? But just coming of the Renaissance, the masters to be of the world said, let's try a new way to govern the world. And govern simply means controlling mankind. And before I continue, also, one thing that I advise the viewers to do is go on Google, right? We all go on Google, right? Go on Google and type in Google Translate, and there's a electronic translator there that can help you translate words, right? And what you could do is translate most of the English words that we use today and translate them to Latin and see the definitions of those words in Latin and see where they really originate from. Because English is simply a language that has manifested from Latin and Greek if you do your research. But
and German as well.
And German as well, exactly. But going back into the line and the point of what my fellow friend has said was, in the ancient Egyptian and ancient Roman Empire, people weren't privy to read or write. It was forbidden at one point. And people were only able to work and cultivate the land that was owned by them, and the masters owned them as well. So, coming of the Renaissance, the masters of the world came up with a new philosophy of allowing people to read and to have knowledge. So now you see the world today where people can even read, especially even people on the streets can even read, but it's sorry to say that people only read the sports section or the sports page of the newspaper. But after that whole philosophy of now allowing people to read and write, that's when the printing presses came in play, right? And a very big question you got to ask yourself: who invested money into the education system? Elementary school, high school, university, college, etc. Where did the money come from in the 16th, 17th century? Where did the finances come from? Then history will let you observe and realize that it came from very powerful family financial dynasties such as the Rockefellers and Rothschilds that were owning large oil companies and large corporations all over the world, and international bankers all over the world. But their whole philosophy, especially a very well-known member in the Rockefeller family named John D. Rockefeller, in 1706, he came up with a statement, a very powerful statement, saying that I do not want a nation full of thinkers, I want a nation full of workers. And that's exactly what you see today.
Wow.
Right. That's exactly what we see today. Because the people who finance the education system is the exact same people you're going to work for after you finish university. And that's something that you really have to get into. Where has things come from? Right? You can't just wake up and accept the world as it is, because believe me, everything has a very occult and hidden alpha to it. There's a very occult and hidden beginning to everything. So we must take away the pride and take away the whole part that we know it all, because we're all human beings that are conditioned and trained to be very diligent and try to say that we know it all, and we're the wisest one and we're the intelligent one, when nothing could be further from the truth. The majority of people in this world cannot even get out of a paper bag. And that's something that it's a very big shame for the gods who created us, who are looking down on us right now and really asking ourselves and asking themselves, what has this creation come to? And believe me, ignorance is going to be the death of the human race. Period.
Exactly.
Not weapons,
Wars.
not wars, not nuclear power, not nefarious enterprises doing criminal activities, but ignorance. Because behind corruption, behind wars, behind nefarious corporations and mafia, and violence all over the world is ignorant people. But we have to start to enlighten ourselves, right? And that's something that me and Emmanuel and people just like us are trying to do. We are trying to help our fellow man. Because before I pass away, and before he passes away, and before anybody passes away, we have to ask ourselves, and a big quote that Martin Luther King said is that measure a man based on the contributions of what he has given to the human family. And that is exactly what I, Emmanuel, and many like us are trying to do. And I'm not trying to say that we all can be the ones up here right now, but it's always good to listen to one another, because I also listen as much as I speak. So we're going into a new year, people, so let's either live as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools.
Exactly.
Okay, so what do you guys think about the government and politics?
No, sorry, that?
Yeah, sure. Politics itself is just a scheme, and like I said, the people who you vote for don't even know what they're doing as much as you don't know who you're voting for when you vote. It's just that simple, you know. Like in America and Canada, you have the same thing: Democrats, the Republicans, conservatives, and whatnot. They call it the political spectrum. Why? Because just like the color spectrum, blue and red. You have the conservatives on one side, and the
That's exactly
yeah,
right.
exactly, and the red party and the Democrats, Republicans on the other. And like I said, then there's the moderate people who don't know who to vote for, who know there's something wrong with the system, and they just sway from side to side whenever the chance is given for them to do so, like every 4 years and whatnot, whenever the time comes to vote. So, like I said, so they got Barack Obama, who all you like black people vote for Barack Obama. They don't know anything about politics to begin with. They couldn't even tell you what political party Obama was with to begin with, or what their reform was, what their economic policy was, or what capitalism, socialism, Marxism even is. Never mind even like to know who to circle on a ballot. It's just absurd. You're voting for somebody because of the color of his skin. And they say they want to move forward from racism and whatnot. First of all, like Obama's not even black, he's half black. So take the myth out of your mind that Obama is the savior of black people. He's not a savior. He's just a person put up there as a pawn to deceive you fools who want to vote for him because you see whoever is on BET or on TV voting for him, Jamie Foxx, Oprah, or Young Jeezy, whoever votes for Obama nowadays or talks about him as a savior, you guys don't even know who he is. So before you vote, do your research. And as you guys can see how corrupt the political system itself, forget America, look at Toronto. What's happening with Rob Ford in office? He was ousted from office because of economic policy problems and legal issues. Because some people think they're above the law just because they have the power to. That just because you're above the law, just because you have power doesn't mean you're above the law. Rob Ford has done some things and said some things that he shouldn't have said, of course, which didn't appease the masses, which are mostly left wing and whatnot. Do you guys even know what wing is left, which wing is right? I'm not even sure you guys even know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about chicken wings either. But I'll just stop there and let David continue.
The political system today is, as you see, just profoundly corrupt. But they don't feel that they need to be any smarter than the way they are right now, because they know how stupid the citizens are. You gotta ask yourself, why do we vote? And where do we vote? You're going to the polls. What is a poll?
What is a census?
You're going to get a consensus. They just want to know, out of these 3-4 criminals, who do you want? Right. And after that person has been elected, he now joins the elites. But what you don't understand is that that person is already part of a secret society and fraternal order from the day that person was probably born. And was already in the company of those criminals and highly intellectual people. And the reason why I say they are highly intellectual people, because sometimes I tell people, you have to respect your enemies because they are smart enough to be your enemies. But what the government system has become in today's time, as Emmanuel said, is nothing more but left wing and right wing. It's the same philosophy that was carried out in Rome with the eagle. The eagle has what? 2 sides to his wing. Left wing, right wing. So you have to have chaos to get control. Right? You have to have 2 parties going against each other. Because if you don't have 2 parties going against each other, now what happens is that it allows people to go against each other, and once people go against each other, it doesn't allow people to really relate to one another and really share bright and brilliant views together, right? Because this side can really help this side, right? But they never actually get to help each other, because the fact is that they're both on different sides, and they just say, you know what, this person is on this side and this person on this side, so I'm never going to speak with this person because this person's automatically bad, and on this side they're thinking the same thing about this side. It's all just a game here, right? This all goes back to the philosophies and the creation of religions based on how they want to have 2 different philosophies being circulated at all times, right? So in having that, now you can have chaos, and once you have chaos, you can now have control, right? Because you can't bring a new order to the world, right, if the old order wasn't a mess. It's like you can't clean your room if it wasn't dirty. So in saying that, we must really look into where politicians are really being financed, and then you'll start to understand the name of the tune, because it costs millions and millions of dollars for private corporations and oil companies and huge financial family dynasties that have been inheriting billions and billions of dollars for the past thousands of years, going back into the Middle Ages, investing in these political parties. It just makes perfect sense here. how corporations invest in politicians. Politicians bring laws in favor of the corporations. Now you have an order here where corporations are making billions of dollars based on the politicians that they have put in power, right? Because you got to ask yourself, you could elect, but you can never select. But I don't want to get into that. But you must understand that politicians are not going in power for you. Because you simply got to understand what the word government means.
Control.
And then you'll start to understand. Like Emmanuel said, it means control mankind. Right? So when you're electing these criminals to go in power and to lead you, and in point of fact, I don't even think we have leaders in this country or in this world. We have what you call misleaders. Because what me and Emmanuel are speaking, and a lot of individuals like us are speaking about all around the world, the truth and the things that we're speaking about are right in front of all of us. But we have misleaders in power who are giving us a different direction to look at. The truth is in front of us, but they're giving us a totally different direction to look at. And then, in my opinion, this whole democracy party and the democracy way of government is completely corrupt. It's probably one of the worst government system there is, because it allows people in power to deceive the citizens. Because what happens is that they say, you know what, let the citizens choose the criminal to be in power. Once the criminal's in power, now the people are happy. Oh, we got who we want, you know, we have power to say who we want. But at the end of the day, choosing your politician is the exact same way of you getting those simple or little choices you get on a day-to-day basis. A simple example is you going to a restaurant. Let's say a big corporation such as McDonald's. You're going in there and you're choosing whatever meal or hamburger you wish to have, right? You choose the hamburger you wish to have, but you don't choose the ingredients that go inside. So you don't choose the integrity or characteristics the criminal or the politician has, but you get to choose who goes in power. So what I'm trying to tell people here is that we need to live in a world where government philosophy, right, is based on three things: allowing people to live in a free country, a free nation, a free world; allowing them to have absolute free belief system where they can completely believe in anything they wish to believe in and have their mind not chained to a pole; and number three, have them not be slaves to whatever you wish them to follow, right? But there's of course innumerable laws that we have to follow, such as the cross light, the street light, etc. That's just there to keep things going, of course. But the laws are put there by politicians to help corporations get richer and richer, and ultimately to bring more control to us. Because you gotta ask yourself, where are these scumbags getting their money from? Because at the end of the day, we all know that the bottom line to everything is money. And where money's coming from, that's where you have to get the facts and the truth from. Period. In every single organization. Perfect example, basketball, the NBA. The NBA is a large organization, right? But how do the players get paid? The players get paid and the individuals who work for the NBA organization, they get paid by the investors. Right. The investors pay the NBA their salaries and their money, right? But it's the players and the employees of the NBA's responsibility to bring that money back to the investors. There's a law that says that in business, you must bring back the money that they have invested you in. So in saying that, in government and in politics, if I am a large corporation, right, and I'm the one who put up $1 billion into Obama's campaign, right, and now he becomes president, he damn sure has to return that exact same favor back to me. So he has to make sure that I earn $1 billion, but through my philosophies. He has to now bring out laws that favor my operation here. And if you really go into government, you'll start to realize that practically 90% of government officials, politicians, and presidents, etc., have been either CEOs of corporations, the whole financial sector of the government, the administration period, is run by ex New York Stock Exchange stock and broker people. It's run by financial bank CEOs, and also the FDA and the USDA is owned by ex CEOs of large food corporations. So you ask yourself, why is it that the people who are doing the corruption in corporation now become elected to government? That shows you how the link between corporation and government are interchangeable. They coincide together to bring one true philosophy, and that's to make a lot of money. And a lot of money brings a lot of control to the human race and to the mass of the people. So we really have to open our eyes and realize where things have come from. Try to figure out the origin. Because like I said, in the Bible, Jesus is depicted as the Alpha and the Omega. Right? And what is Jesus? The truth and the light. So in order for you to be the truth and the light, you have to understand the beginning and the end. Period. If you don't understand the beginning, you'll never understand where we are or where we're going. So go back, crack a book, and do something that you have never done. Actually be creative and go to a library and open books on government, different types of government, and especially the governments coming out of Russia and Germany, such as Nazism, communism, and fascism, that are very powerful occult government philosophies that are above democracy. And to end this, I would like to tell you that there is different levels of government. But Obama is at the bottom of the government, but it's at the height of government that we see. We're not privy to see the top of the government. We only see the government that they want us to see. But from the research I have been taught and from what I've found out, I have come to a compulsive conclusion that the people who are really running this show and running everything is in fact the people that you will never ever see and ever know their name. Obama is simply the front man. You go to Walmart and you see the manager, that's Obama. You'll never see the damn CEO ever. Because he's probably in South Beach, lying on the beach with his wife or his girlfriend that's 30 years younger than him with his margarita. So, like I said, we have to open our eyes and really research and see where things have come from.
Exactly, that's very profound. And the word democracy itself comes from the two Greek words, demos and kratos, which means the people rule or the mob rule. So the democracy, yes, it does give the masses, the people, it gives them freedom. But of course, 3/4 of the people in society are stupid. So by that train of thought, meaning most of the people are stupid, so most of the people are going to make the wrong decision. So that's why democracy is such a great political scheme for the people up top, but such a horrible scheme for the people down here, who are the 25% who do know what's going on and who do know that governments cannot be trusted, and the crooks and the criminals you see are just horrible people, and they are not what they seem to be. And like you said, the blue and the red party is just all a game. They go back and forth. Like a basketball team. It's just all a game. If the governments and politicians were actually doing something, you think they would need to vote for a new party every 4 or 8 years? If they were actually doing something. The economic crises, would that be happening from, like, the economy goes up and down
Yeah.
for a reason.
I just believe that 8 year thing's just a law.
Exactly. The economy goes up and down for a reason. They want the masses to think that they are getting poor, and then after a while they want to make them think that they're getting rich. But that's just all a big hoax. That's not what's really happening. The market can crash right now if they want it to crash, but it's not crashing for a certain reason. People think the market is really bad right now, but it's not. There are people with $1 million houses who make 300 grand a year that you don't even know about, who really run this game. People who you will never ever see. Those are the criminals behind the scenes.
And now we move into a very, very big topic, which is religion. And I like to hear both of your thoughts on this very big topic and what your view is.
Well, that's a very extraordinary question. Religion, in my opinion, from the research that I've been studying, and to be honest, religion is my subject. Right, I do countless amount of information and research on that particular subject because, in my opinion, that whole philosophy, that whole subject, is the bottom line on everything. On everything we're talking about on this show, religion, in my opinion, is at the bottom line on everything. Because if you want people to follow exactly what you wish to do in government, right, you have to have a certain philosophy that they're all gonna follow. Right. But like I said, religion is the bottom line on everything, and if you do not really do some serious, profound research on religion, you will never understand the tune that is really being played. Because how religion was represented thousands of years ago and how it's represented right now are profoundly conclusive difference between how the ancients people were practicing it and the way we are practicing it now. Today, religion has become not only a corporation, but it has become a formal activity, entertainment. Right. But the way the ancients were looking at it is based on how you were able to really question what is really out there. Right? And when I mean what is really out there, I mean by what is up there in heaven. Because you ask any child, 7-year-old boy, where is heaven? He'll point up there, as in the sky, the atmosphere. So the ancient people, they put themselves in a very profound mystical path where they had mystical schools in those times where they did a lot of occult research and study on astrotheology, which is simply the worship of the heaven, right? Because astrotheology is the basis of practically every religion on the face of this earth. Because astrotheology, in fact, is the oldest religion. Because as far as man goes, a man has always seen the heaven. So we have always worshipped the heaven. But all the other religions and concepts and ideas were drummed up and manifested from the philosophies and teachings of the ancient people. And you gotta ask yourself, do you think religion just came out of nowhere? Or do you think it was a process which manifested from multiple philosophies, concepts, and ideas? And in fact, in my opinion, and from what from the information I've looked at, it does go back that far, right? It really goes very far, because all of the topics that we're talking about today, right? Education system, government, right? That goes back 5,000-6,000 years, but religion goes back, in my opinion, since day one. Since day one, since the first offspring of God laid step foot on this earth, they were questioning and asking, who is my creator? Where did I come from? Where am I going after this life? Right? But then, through thousands and thousands of years, then the government system came in play, then the education system came in play. But the religion system is what keeps people in tune. Right? And from what I'm really looking at, it's the fact that they use religion to keep people passive. That whole philosophy of people stumbling over the truth and getting up and brushing their shoulder off and walking like nothing has happened, as Winston Churchill said. The way I think that whole quote comes in play is through religion. Because people go on the truth, they stumble on the truth, right? And then they get up, and then religion allows them to brush their shoulder and keep on walking and acting like the truth did not happen. Because what happens is that when people get encountered by the truth and then get encountered by the light, what happens is that they're like, you know what? I'm not supposed to understand this, right? Let me just do what the masters has told me. Let me just trust in the Lord. And that's exactly what the masters want us to do. They just tell us, you know what? When things go bad, just trust in the Lord, right? Everything's going to be okay. It's going to be a very beautiful time on the next life. Everything's going to be okay. But right now, don't get in important business. Stay out of the way. Just be passive. Just let everything go the way it is, right? And it just amazes me sometimes when religious people all over the world pray to their deities, and nothing seems to happen. Nothing seems to change. Evil and violence grow and multiply daily. So something is wrong here. So what I'm saying, right, is that one can be very religious but completely lost the sense of spirituality. Spirituality is the whole concept of you being in tune and being encountered by your creator and your divine essence on a daily basis. And that is something that you simply have to humble yourself. You simply have to humiliate yourself in front of everybody and simply just tell yourself that I do not know, right? And that is the biggest thing that people in this world really have to go about. And I myself too, I always just tell myself I do not know. I always tell people that look in the mirror every morning and tell yourself that you are a fool, because it will motivate yourself to become wiser and wiser. Because believe me, when you think you have it all, You ain't got it yet. But you gotta ask yourself, and many people ask me this. So David, how has religion came so powerful in our world, right? How has it became so populated? Well, it's just simple. The churches, for example, out of the Roman Empire, they would simply just come with their military missionaries and come into a village and slice and slaughter women and children innocently. And they will just chop up the women and children in half and hang them and crucify them, and they'll just tell you, are you either with us or you're dead. And anybody with a half a brain will obviously go with the flow and get along to go on like we always do. So that's how religion has multiplied completely in this world. But like I said, I look at religion in the information that I have gained and that I have looked at as politics, right? Because it's the same way that Emmanuel was talking about left wing and right wing, right? You have to have two parties going against each other. Always. At all times. Right? Because what that does now is that when you have conflict at all times, right, the whole philosophy, in my opinion, of what masters of this human race are really doing is that they have to keep human beings on a hope and non-hope edge at all times. Meaning they have to keep a human mind and a human family and a human race on a mind state where they have hope and then they don't have hope. You know, it's like a hopscotch. It's like jumping jacks. I mean, it's like you're jumping in and you're jumping out. It's like skipping. So what that does is that it's either you're jumping in the skipping game or you're jumping back out. Right. So what that does, it just keeps you completely confused, where you'll never ever get close to the truth or know the truth. And once you are confused, right, you will never make the right decision when a decision needs to be made. Because believe me, we make a decision every single second of our lives, period. But the decisions we make lead to very big moments in our life that will either change our life forever or make our life better from there on, right? But how religion has played a big role is that religious leaders go hand in hand with politicians behind the scenes, right? How the Pope is a religious leader plus he's a world leader at the exact same time. And if you don't understand what the Pope is, the Pope represents world government. He represents Pontius Maximus. He represents the Caesar, the throne of the Roman Empire, which is the darkest, deprived, occult government system that has ever existed on the face of this earth, next to modern day Nazism. But as far as history goes back, every single government had religious philosophies in it that people must follow. So in saying that, an author said that there has never been a religious movement that wasn't a little political, and there has never been a political movement that wasn't a little religious. Meaning that religion and politics play the same hand in the same game, but there's a brain behind it. Right? It's just that same Roman philosophy of the eagle. The eagle has a brain, and he has the two wings. One wing is religion, other wing is politics. But there's a brain behind both of those wings that guide the human race. But religion is a very powerful occult entity that really does deprive the human race for true spirituality, right? Because once you are not spiritual and you have not been in tune with the divine essence in this world, then you're just going to be a victim, right? You're just going to be a victim at Shell gas station crying about the gas prices, and you're not going to know what's going on. And it's just going to be completely sad. But one day you'll realize that you have been had. And when that day happens, then you will finally realize, and the truth will finally trickle down to you. Because like I said, as far as history goes back, the truth has always fallen on deaf ears. People just don't want the truth. They just don't want to hear the truth, because the truth hurts so much that it keeps people in darkness. Right? It's the whole concept of, would you rather stay in your house where everybody in your house knows your secret, you know all of theirs, right? And nobody's really gonna help each other and fix each other out? Or are you gonna go out to the world where people talk about you and know your secret and try to fix you and etc.? You don't want that. You don't want people, telling you the truth. But believe me, the real truth is gonna hurt the whole human race. It's not gonna hurt just me, it's gonna hurt everybody. So we all must take the responsibility to really look at where the religious philosophies have really come from, because there's many books out there that tell you exactly the history of the Bible, the Quran, the Judaism,
The Torah.
the Torah, the holy scriptures of the people of the book, because those are the three religions that require a book to worship. So, in saying that, we simply have to look into these religion, and I'm not condemning the people. What I'm condemning is the religious organizations. That's who I'm condemning, because they're telling you stories that are simply just not true. Because like I said, the corrupt government that you elect every 4 years to 8 years is the same people who are working with the religious leaders all around the world, such as Benny Hinn, Pastor Chris, Billy Grant, all of
Joel Osteen.
all of the
Pastor Chris.
top of the line preachers, ministers all over the world, getting paid millions of dollars, private jets. It just amazes me how profoundly ignorant the religion has really got to, and how bankrupt it really is, because people are really learning nothing. I believe that religion was put in the world for people to really take in the ancient philosophies and pick up mankind, pick up oneself, right? Because it's totally being misrepresented in the Bible and in many holy scriptures all over the world, because the Middle East is where a lot of occult knowledge has come from. The land of Canaan, Babylon, Sumeria, ancient Egypt, that whole Middle East, that whole mass land all around the Mediterranean Sea, that's where a lot of occult wisdom has come from.
And the whole Mesopotamian land as well.
Exactly. So we simply have to look into that, because religion just didn't pop up in the world, right? It came from very occult philosophies and concepts and mystical schools that you know nothing about. So do some research and open a book and really understand where things have come from. And believe me, nothing on this world works the way you think it is. So, in saying that, before you go to your religious places and your religious places to worship, question where these things have come from. And to conclude, I am not condemning the people. The people are not the brains and the mastermind and the criminals behind all of this corporation corruption that's going all over the world based on religion, with wars and violence and bloodshed all over the world. I am condemning the criminals, but the people must wake up. They must understand that what they're being told is not true, and they simply have to open their eyes and realize where things have come from and use the scriptures to enlighten themselves and enlighten the world, because the world is in darkness. It really is in darkness, and if we do not wake up, our ignorance is going to be the apocalypse or the extinction of the world, period. So I further my points and my opinions to my fellow friend Emmanuel here to continue.
Yeah, like just begin off by, if you want to really go into this deep topic, first we got to start off by saying we're not condemning anybody's religion or anybody. You guys are innocent as a victim who is getting bullied in a school. You guys have no clue what's going on. Someone is bigger than you, more powerful, stronger than you, and he has your back against the wall. You cannot do anything. You are just a helpless victim. So we are not condemning you. What we want you to do is just stand up and say something or do something. Now, to begin off this religious thought or conversation, just ask yourself, why is it that the more Christians pray, the more evil keeps spreading and growing? If you pray, if you go to church or the synagogue or the temple every week, all the praying that you did, do you think it could have stopped the shooting that just happened down south in the States? No. You gotta ask yourself, why is it not stopping? Why are your prayers not working? Some of you guys go on Facebook and talk about the shootings as if you guys even care or have any sympathy. We know that you guys are eating dinner while watching the news, and then you see somebody got shot, and then you ask, oh mom, can you pass me the bread? Or pass me the meatloaf or whatever. It's a topic and it's an event that is so impersonal to you as the Hollywood actors. So first of all, let's just go into the three major religions. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They're all connected because they're all from the same spot. Right? The same land, the Holy Land in that Middle Eastern area. And they all started from the same person, the same prophets, and one angel contributed to two religions, and then one prophet contributed to the other two. So that's how you have to start your thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the word,
That's correct.
exactly. Why do Christians go to church on a Sunday? Because they worship the sun. The sun, the sun hits its apex or its pinnacle at what time? At noon. Christians don't go to church at 9 p.m., 6 p.m., or 4 p.m. They go to church at 12 p.m. because that is when the sun reaches its pinnacle, its utmost height, its highest peak. So they are worshiping the sun. Why do you think Jews go to a synagogue on a Saturday? Because they worship Saturn, the planet Saturn. It's nothing more than just looking at the words. And Muslims, they worship the moon. Why do you think on a few Muslim flags there's images of the moon? And on certain Muslim religious holidays, they can only eat when the sun goes down, or pray when the moon rises, when it's dark, because it's moon worship. Just look at the terms and look at the days and start to really think on how things work. I don't want to go into detail because you guys are just going to be really mesmerized at how some of the things work. Some of you
Mm-hmm.
guys will even consider changing religions, or just some of you guys will not sleep at night with the knowledge that we're going to present. So,
That's exactly right. And
the word, like, the word God, what does the word God itself even mean? English is a Germanic language itself. English was the language before the Germans invaded the British territory. They were speaking Celtic Gaelic tongues. Now, a North German tribe called the Anglo-Saxons from 5th, 6th century BC invaded the British territory, and they brought their language over. So the Anglo-Saxon people, I think British people are called the Anglos, comes from the Anglo-Saxon tribe. Do your research, people. Like, come on, it's right in your face, and it's called the Anglican Church because of the Angles, and the language itself, the name of the language, English. So it got from the term was Anglo, then Angles, then it got transformed to English. So like, let's start off with the Anglican Church itself. How did the Anglican Church come into power? King Henry VIII. So during that time, there was one major church, which is of course the Catholic Church, the superpower, the powerhouse, just the invincible, like, church. Nobody could beat it. So people thought that the church, people who with a brain, like Martin Luther King. I'm not talking about the black one from America. The Martin Luther King before him, if you guys even know that there was the one before him, the British one. So Martin Luther started his own church called the Lutheran Church because he wanted to get away from the corruption of Catholicism. They started to realize that the Catholic Church was corrupt. So King Henry VIII wanted a divorce from his wife because he wanted to go around and sleep with other females. So the Catholic Church did not allow him to do that. So what did he do? He's like, the only option for me is to murder her so I can marry other women or start my own church. So he started his own church called the Anglican Church. King Henry VIII. This is no joke, people. It's right in your face. And then you have the Protestant church. All these denominations come from somewhere and mean something, but you guys don't know that. The Protestants, where do they come from? So back, it goes back again to the ancient Rome and to the Vatican, the Catholic Church. So people were starting to realize that there's something wrong with the Catholic Church because when the Crusades happened to recapture the Holy Land, the Pope sent out a bulletin, and he said that whoever, we want soldiers to go recapture the Holy Land from the Muslim people, and whoever dies in battle, I will guarantee them eternal salvation, and they will not perish. They live eternally, forever in heaven. And however, people were also buying into this claim, not mentally but also financially. People would come to the Pope and give him money so he can save them. They give him money so that for sure they know when they die in battle or in the Holy Land, they're going to live. So is this really what the pinnacle of the Catholic Church is about? Taking donations so that they can give people false promises? But that's another topic instead. So I'll continue on with the Protestant. So the Protestant Church, it comes from the Protestant Reformation. The word, what is the term or the root word of the word Protestant? Protest. What are they protesting against? The Catholic Church. So then the Protestant Reformation occurred with all these different denominations splitting up and going about and doing their own thing and finding their own churches, the scribes, the Calvinists, and the Jesuits themselves as well. It's another group that you know nothing about. Of course you don't. So yeah, like, just look at the term, the word God. So back to English being a Germanic language, the word God itself in German means Goth or Gothic, and the word God in Scandinavian Norse languages, because they all come from the same root language. Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway all comes from the same language, the Norse code, and in their language roots, the word God is pronounced as gut. So when you have that gut feeling, it is God trying to speak to you. So when you have that visceral, deep feeling, it is God trying to speak to you, meaning God lives within you. You can only experience God within oneself, with your spirit, with your identity as an individual, not in a place as a church to begin with, because the word church itself goes back to the Celtic word kirk, and kirk means enterprise, and it goes even deeper into Mother Circe. Mother Circe was a person who brought people into her house and deceived them and just brainwashed them and got their money and left. And so the people left. So she left with their money and they left with false promises and the deception that they were fed. So when you go to church nowadays, what happens?
The Nice Templars bought that whole
You,
concept.
yeah, exactly. You go to church, you sit there for an hour or two, whatever denomination you're from, the mass, however long the mass or the service is. You sit there, you get deceived, you get lied to, and they take your money, the donation. Do you really think the divine, profound, abstract, celestial being needs a coin or two to work? Does he really need your toonie, your $5 bill or your $10 bill in order to work? Do you think God, who is in the heavens, actually needs your donation to work? No, of course not. The people you see on TV like Joel Osteen, Pastor Chris, and all those guys you see on TV, they're the ones that are taking the money. God is not receiving that money. I don't know how you guys think about God getting that money. God does not get money. There's no money transfer or Western Union that goes from here to heaven. Just does not work that way. So, just like I said, you guys.
It just amazes me how ignorant we have become.
Exactly, and the word God itself in Greek, what does it mean? Theos.
Theos.
Theos. That's why you have the terms theology, like now. It's just really question the terms, question the rituals, and like the sacraments that you guys make at church and all that stuff. So it's just a very extraordinary topic that we are entering, and it's just we can go on talking about this for days. But
Exactly, and
I don't want to disrespect anybody's religion
Exactly.
or upset anybody or anything like that. But yeah, just for example, look at the American churches, the ones you see on TV with all the money, with all the fancy lights shining on them as if they're some sort of prophets.
People going to church all fancy and everything.
They scream at the top of their lungs. They stomp their foot. These are all just deception tricks and just fun. They're laughing at you to use. They wear a watch that was worth more than your whole closet. Why? Because of the donations that you give them. Thousands of people pile in to watch these people.
With their big diamonds.
Tell me how you can go to a church and a man puts his hand on your forehead and automatically you collapse to the ground and say you have been healed. It does not work that way. I don't know what goes on in your mind or what possesses you to follow these people, but it does not work that way. That's just wrong. It doesn't work that way. You need to think for yourself and not follow what you have been taught by the previous generations in your family. If you were XYZ religion, doesn't mean you have to be that specific religion for the rest of your life, and so your children and your grandchildren. You gotta really open your eyes. Religion was used as a tool to deceive the masses and to make them actually very passive people, like my fellow man said here. So when you're passive, you give up this life. You pass this life. The word passive, what's the root word in passive? Just pass. You pass this life along. You give it up. You sacrifice this life because you know that there is already an eternal salvation waiting for you up there. But who promised you that eternal salvation? You really have to ask yourself, who wrote the Bible? Who wrote the Quran? Who wrote the Torah? Who wrote the Pentateuch? Who wrote these ancient texts that have been found in the Dead Sea Scrolls? You really do not know where these terms come from. So just do your research. Joel Osteen talking is just like anybody talking. Just that he has money and he has the authority and he has the fame and he's just up there on an altar with flashing lights and TV and thousands of ignorant people go to see him. It's called blind faith for a reason, guys. Come on, think about it. Blind. You can't see. Religion is the opposite of critical thinking. Blind faith. You just have to believe. What are you really believing in? You're not knowing. You're believing. So, it's a very interesting topic, And like, if you have any further
Yeah.
questions
I
into a specific aspect of religion or anything that you want to know,
mhm.
just ask and I'll give you more
Yeah.
information.
I have a point to make quickly before that. You know, I said earlier that I'm not trying to condemn, you know, anybody's religion or anybody's belief system. Of course, you know, you have the right to believe in what you want to believe in, and I just want to put out there too, of course, that I've been born. My beloved mother and my family has been born and raised as a Catholic Christian, right? So, and me today, I'm still a Catholic Christian. So I'm not condemning the Catholic and the Christian people, right? It's just the corporate entity that deceives the masses of people, right? And even just the whole conducting of the Mormon philosophy of Joseph Smith in 1860, right? The founder of the Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints, which basically in 1860 a man named Joseph Smith had philosophies and accusations of envisionment with God himself, and he said that God himself told him that all the other religious dominations and religious views weren't the one from God. So he came up with a whole different new religious philosophy under the philosophy of Christianity, of course, in the sense that human beings were considered as gods, and human beings must enlighten themselves and look towards being gods by the enlightenment and by the measurement of their wisdom and knowledge that they have gained in their life. Right? And in all religions, it's always a triune God, of course. Hindu, there's
Vishnu.
Vishnu, Bara, and Shiva. Um,
Christianity.
Christianity's
The Holy
Father,
Spirit.
Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. Um,
The Son, Father, and the Holy Spirit.
so
It's just a
so so so,
triumvirate.
so it's just a triangle, right? Because that's just the whole basis of the secret organizations and secret societies, going back into the Freemasonry and Masonic Lodge, of just the triangle representing, of course, the enlightened one, um, because basically the triangle is just the complete support system, right? It just defines success, where you have the creator, and then you have the source of the creator, and then you have the offspring of the creator, which make that complete divine power base where nothing can destroy it. So that whole um, philosophy has been drummed up into large corporations. So corporations and um, idols and artists and actors and very famous people all use that triangle figure. It's just a philosophy of just being the enlightened one and just being completely in power. Nothing can break the triangle. It's just the triangle support system, right? Where even in the sport soccer, they always have that triangle support system where the defense cannot get the ball, right? That triangle is in a very occult symbol for just power, the base of power, right? It goes back to the pyramids where the ancient Egyptian people believed that, even in the Bible, the it says that the Messiah Jesus was depicted in three scriptures as the chief cornerstone. And if you ask any engineer or architect in their context, a chief cornerstone is basically the peak or the apex of a pyramid. So the top of the pyramid. So Jesus Christ is considered the top of the pyramid. And if you go back into ancient Egyptian philosophies, the pyramid was considered a philosophy of life, meaning starting from the bottom of the pyramid and working your way up to the top. of enlightenment and wisdom and knowledge. And that's what we are trying to do with the viewers today. We are trying to get you to the bottom of the pyramid and actually start this road so you get up to the top, because we are having leaders in the world which mislead us to a total different direction. And if you think that this world and this life is based on money, having a nice car, having a nice home, having a nice job, you ain't got it yet. There is much more deeper things to this life than what they are giving us. We are simply being deceived. There is no way that our God put us in this world to be ruled by people who are just completely criminal, who say that they are gods and almighty gods, and they are our fathers, and they just have printing presses, and they just print money, and we just work for them, and then the richer get richer and the poor get poorer. That is not what life is. If you think that having your nice 9 to 5 job and having your nice car and your nice home is life, then you simply ain't got it yet. So, as I said earlier, we must open our eyes, right, and do our homework, because the pyramid is a classic example of the enlightenment of oneself, where you must start from the bottom and work your way up to the top. But you must humble yourself. You must humble yourself before. You can't have the pride. You must have the humbleness and humility first, and then you must be rewarded with the glory. But this subject, right, is so Semitic, it's so enormous that one cannot grasp or even comprehend in one segment. So it's going to take time. But what I'm trying to do, and what Emmanuel and many individuals like us, we are trying to do, we are trying to plant the seed of knowledge inside of you. And it's for you to grow it, and whatever fruit or tree grows from that seed that we have planted inside of you, that's yours. And the fruit that grows from it is yours as well. So keep it. But what you must do is you must understand that you cannot grasp or comprehend this type of Semitic subject in one day, because it's a very enormous subject, and you will get what you pay for. In many of my sermons and segments I had earlier, speaking about how in the education system you get what you pay for.
In life in general.
In life in general, you get what you pay for. So in this particular subject, you are going to lose a lot of friends. You're going to lose a lot of family members. So like I said, if you are vulnerable and you are afraid of losing your loved ones, you're afraid of losing your friends, you're afraid of losing your life that you're living right now, do not come in this path, because it's not for you. But you must understand that this subject is what lifts up man, is what lifts up us as a human being to the divine, to God. Because believe me, that man which we call God will never come down to our level. Never come down to the man, ignorant, arrogant, self-centered human being. Never. But it's going to take a humble, a man going through enormous counts of humility, a man of character, a man of diligence, and a man of complete hard work will get to the top. And once he gets to the top, the divine will start to work in oneself, and you will finally start to realize what is really going on, and you'll wake up and see a world full of lies, full of holes. You won't even live properly. But that is the whole point. Because once that happens, then you have no choice but to express and speak about it to people, because now the burden is upon you. My brother told me this long time ago that wisdom is given to a few people, but that wisdom is God dropping weight on a man's shoulder. But that man must go through enormous amounts of adversity and humility in order to pass on that burden to the human race. But the masters of this world and your enemies, whether you like it or not, has this wisdom and has been having this wisdom for a very long time. And they have been keeping it from us because that whole concept of knowledge is power is exactly right. It's dead on. It's the hammer on the nail. It's completely right when they say knowledge is power, because it is complete power. Because it's the whole concept of base of why you're going to school. The more knowledge you achieve, the more power you have in the position of your corporate or life you have on a daily basis. So in saying that, if you're a manager, the reason why you're a manager is because you have more knowledge and more experience over your employers. Knowledge is power. So, like I said, we must get the absolute solitary knowledge and sacred knowledge and lift ourselves to the divine. Because the divine won't come down to us. And once we lift ourselves to the divine, the real power, the real truth, and the real light that we really need and the world is really being deprived of and it's really being starved of has to come. Because if it doesn't, this ignorance is the darkness. And this darkness is the one thing that's going to lead this human race to extinction. Because I personally believe that if we wait for the gods to intervene, we are not going to like it.
Oh my God.
We are not going to like it. But like I said, we have one choice. We have, in fact, three choices. We either intervene in our own evolution and say, this is not right, this is not where we should be as a human race, and we should get back our families and who we really are. Or we stay where we are right now and just let the masters carry us on, because I look at this like 1939, 1940 Berlin. I look at it like the slaughterhouses. I believe there's about 13 slaughterhouses right now in the United States. And I look at it as in slaughterhouses where the cows are ready to go into the slaughterhouses and ready made into hamburgers. Right? But there's always going to be that one cow that tries to inform all the other cows of what's going to happen, what's going to go in play. But that cow that talks is usually going to be the one that gets killed first. So nobody really has the guts to stand up for what is right. And like my fellow friend here said, the word gut leads back to God. Right? So if you have God in you, you should actually have the gut to get up, stand for what is right. Because the way I look at it, we are all just a human race, just just sitting down and just waiting for our masters to lead us into concentration camps because we're too busy watching football, basketball, and all these sports and entertainment that they simply give us. And one day, we're going to realize that we have been had.
Speaking of sports and entertainment, like you just watch basketball and soccer, baseball and whatever, all that stuff. It's just back in the Roman days when they went to the Colosseum to see the gladiators fight. It's just entertainment. They had the Roman populace seeing the gladiators fight each other like animals, barbaric individuals killing themselves. While Julius Caesar, Octavian Augustus, and Mark Antony, the triumvirate, the triangle, running the show behind the scenes. So, like you guys see on TV, you guys watch basketball and all this other sports just for entertainment.
Nothing you order, son?
and you see Obama go to one baseball game or one basketball game, and all the cameras are on him and all the news is on him, blah blah blah. He doesn't care who wins. He does not care. He doesn't even know. I guarantee he doesn't even know who is playing. He's just there to show you guys that he's just a regular person like you and I, and how he's just trying to get by. He's a, he does the same thing that we do at home, and he's just human like you and us. However, phone calls are being made at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning while we're all asleep. Certain individuals that have power. That is when you guys should be watching the politicians. Not when they go to these little baseball games and basketball games to give the first throw, the first tip off, and whatnot. It is just all a show.
So I have a quick question about religion. Are you trying to say that all the conflicts that are happening in the world right now are just based on religion, like the one in the Middle East, which is a never-ending conflict?
I'm gonna answer that real quickly so we can go into the other agendas that we have today. Well, basically, all all wars, in my opinion, has been manifested from religious views since as far as history can go. Because, like I said earlier, you have to have two sides playing here.
Otherwise, there's no war.
Exactly.
There's no game. You can't have blue without having red. You can't have
Exactly.
black without having white.
No
And
peace
so on.
without war, no war without peace. Meaning that war is a business. There is no middle line. So, in saying that, religion is a tool used to bring conflict to people, right? Because, like I said, I believe that in order for you to bring peace, both sides truly have to look at each other like, you know what? We are all human beings. We are all one. We have all come from the same divine creation, the same divine essence, right? And we are fighting over concepts and ideas that we have put upon ourselves. That's just truly what it comes down to. But what happens is that this side is always looking at this side as bad, and this side is always looking at this side as bad. When in point of fact is, they're both actually good, but they both look at each other like bad. So that's what creates conflict. But behind all of that, you can all lead all of these wars, conflict, the enormous amounts of bloodshed shutting all over the world goes back to the Vatican because, like I said, the Holy Father represents world government, Rome domination, period.
Exactly. That question, like my friend said before, religion and politics is intertwined. There cannot be a religious movement without there cannot be a religious movement without it being a little bit too political. And there cannot be a political movement without it being a little bit religious. So I think that answers your question just head on. And like every other war that we've seen in history, for example, we mentioned the Holy War, as you've seen, but there was nothing holy about the Holy War at all. The Holy Wars was when the Christians wanted to regain land from the Muslims and whatnot. The Crusades, the Knights Templar, 12th, 13th century, stuff that you guys don't know nothing about. But however,
Yeah.
stuff like that, all the wars, the colonies trying to invade other countries, trying to convert them into their religion. It's all about religion.
Mm-hmm.
So religion and war are intertwined. It's like politics and war. So I think that question has just been answered.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question to all the Catholics out there that go to church, wearing their fine clothes, to their big masses, their Christmas masses. Why are you wearing those clothes? What is it doing to you? And then when somebody isn't wearing their fancy $200 clothes, you give them a dirty look. Jesus did not wear your fancy clothes. So if Jesus went into your church, you would be giving him that dirty look. Look at how you are acting. Does this make sense? That's all I have to say.
Well, to be honest, like we don't really need to get into that particular question, but it's just obvious. Basically, how um, religion is just completely misrepresented today, right? It's just nothing more but a corporate entity, as you see. It's church and all of these religion organization are in fact part of the stock exchange and also part of maritime admiralty law, a law that you know nothing about, which is practically the law of business all over the world. So honestly, religion is just a very big misrepresentation of what is really going on in the ancient world and what's happening right now. So we just honestly have to get back to our human nature and human origins, and just continue to, I guess, love our neighbors and not shun them.
Okay, so the next topic is new man.
Let's start this.
Can you please explain what that is and
Okay.
for the audience?
So back then in Germany, when the Nazis were coming to power, sometime before that actually, there was a German philosopher that went by the name Friedrich Nietzsche. Don't know if you've heard of him before, but he had a certain idea of the Übermensch, or the Overman, translated to English. So the Übermensch was the Superman, and this was the idea that the Germans adopted, the Nazis, I'm mistaking myself, the Nazis adopted themselves into transforming man into the Superman, which Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about in his philosophical essays. So, Nietzsche believed that man is like on this sort of pole or line, um, that man started off somewhere and will end up somewhere, and that now we are. And back then when he was writing, he believed that we were in the middle of this pole, that we were going to this Übermensch, the Superman. So the Nazis adopted this idea and believed that the Superman, or the new man, the most powerful man, was had to be German and have the Aryan futures, such as green eyes and blonde hair. So they wanted to enforce a mass genocide on certain demographics and ethnicities of people. It wasn't only the Jews that were killed. It were gays. It were people who were disabled and whatnot. But yes, most of the killing did happen against the Jews. And believe me when I tell you this, that the Germans, in the time when the Nazism was happening, there's still Nazis existing today, of course, and there's even Nazis in Canada and in Toronto as we speak. If you guys don't know about that, I'm baffled. But yes, so they wanted to create this new man, and this new man had to have green eyes and blonde hair and have to have all the German features and whatnot, because that's what they wanted, and that is what they were about to get if it wasn't for certain superpowers coming in from the West and whatnot to stop from this new man. But yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. That whole new man concept, of course, has been here for a couple of thousands of years. You know, going back into the Roman Empire, ancient Egyptian Empire, Sumerian Empire. Just the whole concept of changing a man, right? So one day, they could completely be able to just follow orders, because that's the perfect thing that any king or queen or royalty wants, right? Because just ask yourself, if you were the pope, or you were the sovereignty dictator, or you were a dictator of a country, right? Would you want the citizens of your country to be highly intellectual, have degrees, be profoundly educated, or would you want them to be profoundly ignorant and just completely deprived of their education? Well, logic alone would tell you you would want them to be ignorant, deprived of education completely, and just profoundly ignorant. So you can now control them and the whole concept of the new man was um, really pioneered into a very advanced modern day philosophy today, as we see in the regime and occult knowledge and philosophies of the Nazis. Um, During the war, of course, Hitler and his top scientists, physicists, and especially the astronomers, such as Nikola Tesla in those times, they basically invented the technologies that we use today and we take granted for, such as the radio, television, even internet. But what the whole concept of building those technologies was to transform the way a human mind thinks, and the whole concept of changing a person to now just completely follow a computer or follow the way computers work, how you just conducted or orchestrated to do the certain task that you wish to do, and it sends back no emotion or no remorse to any feeling. So that whole concept came into play, and it was been here for thousands of years, of course, but Hitler really pushed it and really started the serious pioneership of that whole philosophy, and we see it today with the vast propagandized tool we call television today, which is a propagandized tool pioneered by the physicists and engineers financed by the Nazism in the early 1920s and 1930s going into our modern today society. But what I am seeing right now as we speak is a complete mass mutation of the human race. Human beings are simply being deprived and are completely being robbed of their humanity. We are simply losing our sense of feeling and love and caring and hardship for one another. We simply lost the whole sense of community and one, right? And we are just completely lonely and not connecting with our human self and connecting with our neighbors, and that is something that is being done slowly by technology, um, uh, genetically modified foods, and just the way that they change the atmosphere with the chemicals,
The
right?
water.
And the water, etc. And they do it in a way so profoundly wicked, but at the same time too profoundly awesome and wise, that we will never realize what has happened to the world. And it will get to a point where the world will become so dark that we will never realize that there was any light to start with. Because the fact is, the way that they are simply mutating the human population and the human race is just completely wicked, awesome, wise, because it's just so awesome and amazing to me how people simply just don't realize that they're being mutated and being changed. I just get scared and shiver for my fellow man when I see young, beautiful, bright children each day going to school and not knowing that the world that they live in is not going to be the same that we're living in today. It's going to be profoundly different, to the point where they will never understand how it all got put together. But I look at this whole mutation like a secret occult agenda that has been in play for the past 100, 200 years and has really been pushed together by the Nazis. And this whole concept can be related to the exact same way of a sailor on the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean with hundreds of thousands of liters and gallons of oil and having to change the direction of that ship. That captain is going to have to make a decision to turn that ship right or left or keep on going straight 50 miles before it even starts to turn the axis. Why? Because if it does not, those barrels will fall. So put that exact same concept into the human race. The human race is so vulnerable that you have to guide the human race so precious where not one barrel falls or not one human falls, because if one or many human falls, then the rest are gonna fall and they're gonna start waking up. Right. So what you have to do it so softly where they don't even notice it's happening. They're just on Twitter and Facebook and all these other social networks, and they don't even know that they're being mutated. But it's happening very slowly. But like I said, one day the world's gonna be in so much darkness, we're never gonna realize that we were in light to start with. So that's the whole concept of a new man. So like I said, you really have to do research, and the best place for you to do research, because I know this is a very fascinating subject to look at. So one thing that I could tell you viewers is I don't want to get into this and get into a lot of Nazism philosophy, but if you guys want to do research on it, go on Google, type in Nazism and type in the whole philosophy of Nazism and type in Nazism new man, and you'll get the whole document research on that whole concept and that whole idea of the new man, and it will really open your eyes to the truth, and it's a really fascinating subject to go about. So I advise the viewers to do that.
Can you just inform them what the word human means itself?
Okay.
Like an ancient Celtic Gaelic
Mhm.
language.
Basically, in the ancient times before the ancient Egyptians ruled, there was a very occult order going on in the world coming from the Britain Islands. The Britain Islands just north of the UK, they ruled the whole entire world. From Canada to Australia to all of Africa to all of Europe to all of South America. But you gotta ask yourself, where did they have the power to rule that whole globe? Where did they have the power to rule the whole entire world? But if you did your research on the Celtic Druidic system, which I'm not going to get too into this segment today because we're running out of time, but they had the philosophy of the discovery of Hollywood, of using magic with the magic wand. Go back and watch movies such as Merlin the Magician Wand and Harry Potter. It will open your eyes a lot to what the Druidic system is all about. But they used to call the human in those times, in that system, human, Hueman. And in any art department or in any art field, or you ask any art expert, what does hue mean? It means color. So in those times, they looked at the whole human race as color man, right? So that's where that whole concept comes from. So we have to really look at where things have come from and really understand words, because it's all wordplay. We all listen to music and we all seem to understand lyrics, but we simply can't understand where words have come from. It's all wordplay here. So get the words, break them down, get the root. It's honestly, it might like I said, the biggest thing human beings have to let go is pride. And just tell yourself, I do not know. Right. And the biggest thing to do that, once you have done that, then you will start to humble yourself and start yourself, I don't know, and you'll basically put yourself back in kindergarten. Because believe me, even if you're in university, even if you have graduated, even if you have a nice job, believe me, this occult wisdom and this occult knowledge brings you straight back to kindergarten. You got to go back to school again. You ain't have it yet. Believe me, when you think you got it, you ain't got it yet. So, what I'm trying to say is, it's all word play. You got to get the root word. It's just the same thing when you learned when you were kindergarten, learning how to spell ABCs. You got to just break down the root words and understand where words have come from, and then it'll open up a big picture and it'll open up a whole new can of worms for you to investigate. So, this is what we have, and I'm just completely amazed of just how ignorant the human race has become.
And since you brought up Hollywood, now I have to go into it. Hollywood itself, just in the ancient Druidic Celtic system, they used the wand from a holly tree to deceive people and to trick them and to enchant them to do whatever they want them to do. The wand of a holly tree. So now you have a city in California called Hollywood, and it produces all the movies full of bloodshed, horror, nonsense, and just absolute brainwashing you to believing things that they want you to believe and to deceive you the way that they want to deceive you. So all I'm just saying is open your eyes and know that when you turn on that TV, Hollywood is doing something to you. There's nothing new under the sun, like it says in the Bible. There's nothing new under the sun. What you're seeing today has been happening for the past thousands of years, and it's going to be happening for the next thousands of years after you. So there is really nothing new under the sun, and people just go along to get along, and then they start complaining about gas prices and about taxes and about why their T4 is not bringing in enough salaries, and they complain. Well, when you don't open your eyes and you don't question things and you just follow the system, that's what happens. You complain about gas prices and taxes, but you don't know why gas prices are high or why they're taxing you so much. But in respect to time,
I would just like to conclude. Basically, we just have to open our eyes and realize what's really going on, right? Because there is a very profound occult world that we live in today, right? The majority of the viewers, the majority of people in the world today live in what you call the dream world, right? But we're trying to show you Zion, the world that's occult, that's hidden, that's under the world that we see today. Go back and see the Matrix, right? But just in the Bible, and I'll just like to conclude with this, King Solomon said it the best. Where there's no vision, the people will perish. And that's how what we have today. There's just no vision. People, young people, their desires are just completely bankrupt. They go to a place just to get lost. I don't know why, but like I said, we simply have to open our eyes and see where things have come from, because one day we're going to wake up and we're going to realize that we have been had. And I just shiver sometimes, and I just sit back and I just shiver because I know where this is all going, and I understand where this is really going. But all I could do is just educate my fellow man, because this is what I love to do. Right? I do this off camera as well. So all I'm trying to say is open your eyes, realize what's going on, message me on Facebook. If you want to talk to me in person, I'm open to the public. And yeah, I just want people to understand what's really going on, because it's very sad that, and I just believe too that all you young people, you guys all want this type of knowledge and wisdom, and not be led into the pit.
yes.
But it's not given to you. I understand that. The education system, they spend millions of dollars on activities and sports, but they never spend a penny on highly intellectual books and fill their libraries with enrichment on knowledge and things that you should be reading and you should be educating your mind. Educate simply means taking care of your mind. The more you educate, the more you care for your mind. So the less education, the less your mind becomes spoiled. So I just sit back and sometimes I just shiver because at the end of the day, we're all gonna realize that we've been had, and where there's no vision, the people perish.
Okay, so we'd like to thank our guests for coming. David.
Yep. My name is David Mowa, and yeah, you could hit me up on Facebook, Pyramid Giza, and yeah, just inbox me. Any question, I'm available anytime. Just inbox me if you want to talk to me on the phone. Just inbox me your phone number and the time to call, and I'll be gladly to answer any questions of yours. And yep, I'm open to the public. Yep.
Yeah, my name is Manuel, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here. And yeah, it was just great for me to do this, and I'll come back anytime. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me through David himself, and that's about it. I don't engage in any of the social media networks that are out there, so too bad.